Welcome back to my channel. Today, we'll be discussing Cover Up by GyaGa. Now, before we get started, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled this manhwa, go ahead and click off now. No worries, I'll catch you next time. Now, for those of you left behind, let's go over some content warnings. There may be references to scars, mafia and or gang activity, obsession, violence, assault, blood, abuse, rape, death, torture, kidnapping, confinement, suicide, sex work, controlling relationships, self-harm, and suicidal ideation, as these things do appear in the manhwa. Now, if that's all good with you, let's go and get started. As always, let's start with synopsis. Yeon Gyumha is a tattoo artist, and a highly sought after one at that. Unfortunately, he learned his craft from his ex-boyfriend, an obsessive and controlling man whom Gyumha would love nothing more than to escape from. That opportunity arises when he gets a call about a potential client in Japan. They want to fly Gyumha out there to perform a cover-up for someone. While it's not explicitly stated, it's not hard to figure out that this client is part of a gang or yakuza. It's a dangerous prospect, but if it'll free Gyumha from his ex's influence, the danger is well worth it. So, after designing the tattoo, Gyumha is flown out to Japan where he meets his client, Katamoto Seungjae, the second son of the Katamoto family's head. Gyumha inadvertently ends up in the middle of a power struggle between his first son and the second son, being used as leverage by the first son when Gyumha and Seungjae begin a physical relationship. While he's no longer any safer in Japan than he would be at home, Gyumha is hopelessly in love with Seungjae, and while Seungjae feels the same, he isn't willing to risk Gyumha's life. Even though Gyumha is willing to risk everything to be with Seungjae, Seungjae feels compelled to let him go. Just like with the other work I've reviewed by the same creator, the creator of I'm Yours, Blood and Soul, the art in this is super inconsistent, sometimes just plain ugly. Our antagonist top, Minwook, looks like a square mushroom the first time we see him. Seungjae doesn't look that much better, being just a square a lot of the time. Gyumha is the nicest looking one and the most consistent of the three, which seems to be the standard. This artist does feminine characters very well and is the most consistent. Now, that doesn't mean those are the only issues. We still see the whites of the eyes just being the skin color, which looks odd too. I wouldn't say the style is the worst I've ever seen, it's just not as clean and consistent as I would like. Story-wise, the foundation of the story is really nice. I love that our main character is a tattoo artist traveling to cover up a scar for a Yakuza member with a tattoo. There's something so attractive and intimate about a tattooist and the person he's tattooing, which is really emphasized in this. Unfortunately, while the story's foundation is super intimate and sexy, the story built on top of it doesn't feel as thoroughly explored as it could be. This seems to be the standard for this author, creating works with really fun or interesting concepts, but without much substance to go along with that. We get some in-depth background from Gyumha and his relationship with Minwook, but Seungjae remains a mystery, which is unfortunate since he's probably the most interesting character. Don't get me wrong, we get some background, but it's rather vague without explaining why they think he's cursed, why the tattoo he had before it was burned off was a symbol of the curse, etc. The ending also feels somewhat lacking, especially when it seems to introduce a possible secondary couple that never goes beyond that suggestion. It just left me wanting more, but not in a good way. I have to say though, I adore the title of this piece. It has so many meanings and its simplicity that I just adore it. I'm upset that I didn't write something with this title myself. It starts with the obvious meaning, Seungjae getting a cover-up for his scar, but it also speaks to Minwook trying to cover up his insecurities and his abusive relationship with Gyumha with violence. It also speaks to Gyumha covering up his own trauma and pain with the relationship he had with Minwook to begin with. Then it comes back to Seungjae covering up his feelings for Gyumha by claiming it's unsafe for Gyumha to be with him. There's also the moment when Gyumha scars up the tattoo Minwook put on him, a much more permanent cover-up than even another tattoo could be, which now ties him back to Seungjae both having scars. This is a multi-layered title and I adore it. Something interesting that isn't necessarily part of the main story but is mentioned by the author in the author's note is that this was initially meant to be a Girls Love title. My experience with Girls Love is pretty limited, though I have a nice backlog of titles I plan to read through one day. Since I don't have an extensive background in Girls Love, it's interesting to imagine how the dynamics might change with the switch in gender. I almost feel like in many ways this might have been more interesting with women than it is with men. Women are often depicted as being soft and gentle in media, so to have this with women filling the roles of the controlling and cruel ex and the love interest trying to solidify her position as heir to her mafia family sounds so interesting. I also find the character sketches of the women to be more satisfying than we get for our two tops, which shocked me. If nothing else, this has spurred me to read some of the GL waiting in my backlog. With all that being said, this was fine. I loved the concept so much, which is probably why this felt so disappointing in the end. I loved Gyumha as a character, which is super biased on my front since I love a good strong-willed sex worker type. I mean, I wrote some myself with Marble warm under my fingertips and dominate me. He was really well developed, but everyone else wasn't, which made the entire story feel so lacking and, in turn, made the ending feel lackluster at best. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but it just needs more. It's super short, so if you need a quick bite of BL, this is a fine option. Just don't expect a super fleshed out story. So, have you read Cover Up? If so, what do you think? Do you agree with my assessment? Do you not? Let me know and comment below. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Bye!